in opening and in closing, in regards to history, mystery, and the bound imagination, and this book that I published. Um, Upon reflection, I wanted to share with you a few thoughts in terms of why this was put together. Growing up, part of my story, which connects our stories together, is that I was born into a family whose profession and trade and means of survival were being fruit and vegetable growers. I loved to move, I loved to play. That was my language. I loved to explore, and I was really blessed to have parents and family that encouraged me to explore, to be adventurous, to not take the easy way out, to be able to learn and troubleshoot on the go, to be curious, to ask questions, and quite frankly, given the freedom to be able to make mistakes so that I could figure out things on my own. I grew up in the middle of an 80-acre farm, and I had the undomesticated privilege of being able to play and create with the golden retriever dogs and friends that I grew up with all the time. When I think now and reflect back upon my life, those were the most defining moments, and those were my happiest moments and times. Those really set the stage for things to come. Along the way, in being placed in some educational systems, although I had a great education in and of itself, no matter really where you go, you're forced to sit in the desk for an extended period of time. And although in these institutions at a young age, from elementary, middle, and high school that I was in, we definitely had access to and were given more time to develop in the physical education realm, in the arts and the crafts and the self-development realms than most any other place that I've heard of. I was fortunate in those regards, but I know over time my heart really ached due to the fact that I felt like through these learning times I was really losing a big chunk of myself. So when it came down to it and thinking of, hey, what am I going to do with some skills and some gifts that I have to fulfill what my Maker wants for me, and just being very productive and just loving what I do, serving other people, helping other people. I wanted to be involved with movement, and over the course of the past 16 years, being a strength and conditioning coach and injury prevention specialist, spending 6 years in professional sports, and spending the last 16 years working with a lot of high-class athletes in professional sports, and a lot of unique and rare people just in everyday life, average people like us that are watching this. I've had a phenomenal opportunity to be able to learn. I always noted that it was very interesting how you were never enabled or encouraged to ask questions in the higher education system, and that you were literally taught what to think rather than how to think. It was more of a strategy in terms of knowing and preparing to take the exam than it was to know the information and know from a bigger perspective, putting things together, what the human body was capable of. Is always a very frustrating thing for me, in that my grades were never quite a good representation of my knowledge. I was a firm believer, and still am and always will be, that what you know is limited by what you do, and what you do is limited by what you feel. And so I've just always wanted to play, and I started this book, which was then used in the Citadel Military College in South Carolina, in the Minnesota Twins organization. It's been sold to numerous coaches and randomly unique and rare human beings and people. It was a two-year process in the making, in terms of actually sitting down, gathering the research, and I found that my life, my story, really facilitated a lot of the things that I wanted to think about, a lot of things that I wanted to share, a lot of the battles that I was going through, and knowing that, hey, it's a frustrating thing to think of that, hey, you're just a cookie cutter, you're just a number, your identification doesn't matter, let's strip your fingerprints and your footprints, it doesn't matter. In terms of schooling, in terms of movement, in terms of getting better, I really value good health, I value good solid movement. Growing up, being able to participate in sports was my opportunity to make my good, closest friends, and to be able to have commonalities with my family, as my family was very active. And so that set me up with a great lifelong opportunity to continue to grow these friendships, to share with my family, my kids, to be able to have friendships and to be able to have a purpose with others, and engage with movement. And I literally moved to my bone, all the way down to my bone marrow, that movement is our language. I grew up a very shy and quiet individual. I just loved to play. And so I've hidden behind the title of strength and conditioning coach, injury prevention specialist, performance enhancement specialist, physical therapist, having a Bachelor of Science, a master's degree, and my doctorate in physical therapy, going through that form of medical school. Really, those pieces of paper, more or less in my own mind, have given me justification to give my voice some strength, to be able to represent my people, to represent you, and to give us all a form and sense of hope. And although those pieces of paper have accumulated to the figure of $100,000, which is a significant amount of money, it ultimately doing what's best in regards to the healthcare field, doing what's best in regards to the movement industry, being able to share and being able to have the credentials to make myself vulnerable, to walk the plank, to accept gray area, and to note that this black and white world we live in is this fairy-taled, kind of entitled world, and to also take some bullets, for you, to take some bullets for us. I think it's important to, when you've been given some skills to use and some gifts that you're constantly refining, to use that in a very selfless and a very and unselfish manner and way. And it's really come down to, hey, this is a battle, this is sometimes a fight, amongst a lot of joy in that, hey, we're ultimately preserving authenticated movement. We make things so scientific that the ability or the desire to move no longer becomes any fun. Things have to become and have become so structured and so organized that it becomes tedious, and the gift that God gave us to move was never intended to be that way. It was intended to be a joyful manner, to engage in exciting events and activity with friends and family, and to participate, whether it's in a team sport or an individual sport or a combination of both, to really compete against ourselves, to have fun with ourselves, to be encouraged by others, to encourage others, and to have good reflection time, and to have a lot of great joy in ourselves as movers. So I will typically go back through and reflect upon these works that I've put together. That I've always noticed it's done but never finished, so to speak. And I think that we always have to have those books or those worksheets in the back that have those blank pages that allow us to continue to build upon. But it's really interesting looking back now, over 11 years ago, 12 years ago when I first began this in terms of writing this and finishing it, or compiling it, not finishing it, I should say. is that there's, man, even along my movement journeys, there's a significant amount of truths that I feel very strongly about. And I think when we build what we think and what we believe in, and we entrench that in truth, it'll certainly maybe perhaps change our strategies and our techniques, but truth is truth. The neat thing about truth is that truth doesn't change, but our perspective of it does. And I'm just still really overjoyed by all the people that I've been able to learn from, and that I learned from around those pivotal times that I was putting this together. The individuals that were very patient with me, and that could have really chewed me up when I asked a lot of questions and was digging in and on the research. So history, mystery, and the bound imagination. I really hope that you enjoy this story. I enjoy your story. I want you to know I respect and love your story. I might not know who you are, but as movers, we have a lot of good stuff in common. So may you find a great deal of truth in our history as movers. May you find a lot of joy, compassion, and excitement in the adventure story that you're in, and in your story. And may you find a great deal of peace in knowing that you are significant, that you are unrepeatable, and that there is in the history and the existence of this earth and this world, never ever will there be another human being quite anything to the uniqueness of yourself. May you be really blessed in terms of going through this book and encouraged and questioned maybe some of the thoughts. May you reflect upon that, and may you challenge what you already believe based on these ideas, these stories, and this truth.